Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm a sophomore at Harvard. I'm from LA. I went to a charter high school. Here's my story. I hope this helps. Please take my experience with a grain of salt. Everyone is their own individual person, and I think that's the point of crafting such a holistic college application. So please keep that in mind. But yeah. So a little bit about my high school. I went to a small charter school in Los Angeles. I would say it was very much an environment where you had to be proactive, secure your own funding, secure your own mentors and supervisors. But I think that made for a very interesting, very collaborative atmosphere where people could really just put their all into a passion project and make it happen. We actually had to have a passion project to graduate, and I think that really speaks volumes when you look at the big picture and who's applying and what sets you apart. I think is the most important thing to focus on in terms of college applications these days, just because it's so oversaturated and you've got too many brilliant kids and too few seats. I graduated as co-valedictorian. In terms of my stats, I applied with a 4.0. I took 2 APs in my sophomore year, 5 APs in my junior year, and 4 APs in my senior year. In my junior year, 2 of those APs I self-studied for. I think it's definitely doable, especially if you're passionate about those specific subjects. So I really encourage you guys to kind of talk it out with your counselor and see if you can do APs. I also did dual enrollment programs online at my local community college in topics I was interested in, like Chicano history. I wanted to practice my Korean. I also took business. It was all really fun, honestly. I completely forgot to talk about my SAT scores, but I submitted a 1530. I got a 780 in the reading and writing section and 750 in math. I also submitted my national Spanish exam scores. In 2023, I got the #1 score in LA County, and in 2022, I got gold. And then my LNAT score was the diagnostic admissions test I needed to take for Oxford Law. And just to go through a list of all the awards I submitted, I received high honors with distinction, which was my school's honor roll. And I also got the Congressional Silver Service Award and the Presidential Gold Service Award for my community service. And I also won the Distinguished Young Woman Award of Los Angeles County, the Mayoral Community Service Award. I got first place in an essay contest and some miscellaneous debate awards. California Seal of Biliteracy because I took Spanish language and Spanish literature. Spanish is my second language. A lot of my application was actually based around learning languages and my love for languages. So Spanish, Korean, Italian. I kind of liked to talk about how I applied that to my high school experience. In my high school, there were a lot of immigrant parents whose first language or only language was Spanish or Korean. So a big project that I was a part of for all 4 years was called Bridge, and we would do translation work to create resources for those parents. And that was really fun because I was president at the end of it and turned it into my passion project by expanding the program a little bit. But from the start, it was always a really cool program and one of the first things I did in high school, so it holds a special place in my heart. In terms of my other extracurriculars, I did lots of school leadership stuff. I did ASB, I was vice president for that. I also did dance team. I started the dance team with some of my closest friends, and we did that for all 4 years of high school, and we went on to lots of local competitions. We would perform for our school. But yeah, I really love dance, and dance was a big part of my application because I actually used to really want to be a K-pop idol, so I trained with a company for a little bit before we left online school and I had to come back to in-person school. So yeah, I had to give that up, but I wouldn't change anything for the world. And I think these very niche experiences that have nothing to do with classes or academics honestly shape your character in ways that really come off in a more impactful way. Not saying you need to go out of your way to have some niche experiences, but never discount your life experiences just because they're not related to the major you're applying to or something like that. My biggest extracurricular was probably the internship I did my junior summer. For backstory, my sophomore summer, I interned / just volunteered for Karen Bass's mayoral campaign, which she later won. And then in junior year, I interned with the mayor's office at LA City Hall, and I basically split up 2 internships. In the morning, I would be at Inside Safe working on their homelessness and housing outreach team. I would do in-field work. We would go in operations to move homeless residents into interim housing, which was one of the mayor's new programs. That was really cool, and I learned a lot about public policy, public safety, public health. And then in the afternoons, I would work with her communications office, doing like Korean translation work, Korean media outreach. I was basically the press liaison, and I would also do some admin work, like transcribing some of her interviews, etc., etc. That was really cool. I got to go to some of her press events, but both taught me a lot about working in a professional atmosphere, but also being more in touch with the politics of the city I live in. I think this really changed the trajectory of my high school life, so would definitely recommend getting into stuff early, and keeping up with the people that you've worked with in the past. Creating those long-lasting relationships can get you opportunities that you can't really get elsewhere just by applying to programs run by people you've never met face-to-face. I think getting involved in your community is honestly the best thing you can do for yourself and your community. Speaking of community service, here are some of the other service activities I did during high school. Koreatown Storytelling Project was an oral history project. We did interviews on LGBTQ elders in the Koreatown community. I also worked at the polls as a student election worker for a few years and a translator. I did Key Club, very SoCal Asian of me, and Interact Club, and I was also an English and Spanish tutor for a year. And here are a few more extracurriculars that I forgot to talk about in my video. I did debate for 2 years, and I was the captain of our school team. I also founded some chapters of things at my school, like the American Society of Civil Engineers High School Day and the Science Quiz Bowl. I was on the Lunar New Year's Committee, and I also ran a mentorship program for Scholar Circle. But yeah, other than that, I think I've gone over mostly what all my essays were about. I applied as like government, history, lots of humanities majors. I really wanted to do international relations, so I applied for that for all my schools that had it. And I would mostly just talk about like cross-cultural connections and how that's applied to me and my community, me and my work with language, my work in politics. I think other than that, it was very simple. My essays were about my passions, everything I liked, some of them academic, some of them not. My personal essay was about my love for Greek mythology and how that connects to hospitality and the way my family exhibits that through our little Airbnb. But honestly, just be authentic, be genuine. I am really, really grateful for everything that I've been able to do in my high school journey. Remember that it doesn't end there as long as you hold on to your passions or find new ones, and make sure to kind of check yourself and see if you're genuinely invested in them. But that's all the advice I'm going to give for today. Again, coming from a very personal place, so take it with a grain of salt. But I hope this helped, and see you guys later. Good luck with your applications.